Our first speaker is a well-known emeritus professor of biological psychology at the Open University and president of the Open University Psychology Society, which has provided so much invaluable help towards many students here today. He has inspired and encouraged us in university and on social media. He is an author on many OU modules, including DE100, SDK100, DE200, and SDK288. And is also a big advocate for protecting the natural environment. The world needs more people like him. Please welcome Professor Frederick Totes.
Well, thank you very much for this invitation, which I'm delighted to accept. I'm sorry about some of the technical hitches, but I'm not really with modern technology. Now, I started at the OU just 42 years ago, and the changes have been striking in some ways. In some ways, nothing has changed. The students are just as motivated as they were right in the beginning. The OU has changed, though. In the early days, the OU was full of eccentrics, little groups of eccentrics gathering in various corners. A particular concentration in psychology, as you might suppose, but another concentration in technology. But I regret now that eccentrics seem to be a thing of the past, and now it's much more business managerial oriented. Summer school was great fun. And at summer school, you discovered that the eccentrics among the student population, the range of different characters, people bringing different skills to bear. I once put something in my body out of alignment, and sure enough, we had an osteopath amongst the students. And I always felt that at York University, if I were to fall in the pond or the lake, that there's probably be a Marine commando following shortly after me. And could rescue me, whoever fell in the lake. Now, a dear friend of mine, Graham Mitchell, some of you might have met him. He's sadly no longer with us. He used to quote something whenever I met him. He did a lot of work with prisoners, and he stated that there was never ever a prisoner who got his degree through the Open University and who ended up back in prison. Well, I hope that's still the case. The OU was changed. Of course, we had no online presentations 42 years ago. Compared to, I teach in conventional universities, and the thing that strikes you about the OU is the sheer level of motivation of the students and the sheer diversity amongst the students. This is very powerful. Now, the challenges the world faces will require both social sciences and science in the way ahead. I think we need social science even more than the hard traditional sciences, because in a sense we're given the major problem the world's facing. Well, there's the COVID, of course, but even when that is finished, when that's over, we know what the causes of climate change are. In a sense, we don't really need to investigate to find out what's going on. We know what's going on. What we need is to be able to answer the challenge of climate change. We need desperately to find solutions, and these will be social science solutions, psychology solutions. Why is it that we put short-term gain over long-term interests? These are psychological issues that need to be addressed. And what I believe is that psychology should be taught from age 5 in school, basic principles of psychology, that is, how to get on with your fellow man and woman. We make so many serious mistakes in our interactions with each other. We work on the basis that people will respond to aversive. So we make something aversive, they will act such as to avoid that aversive situation. All too often, they don't. And I've seen again and again and again where conflict situations can be resolved with the use of just a little bit of psychology. Let me say, to wind up this, about the use of aversive techniques. You're trying to teach someone to swim, then you don't tell them something like, if you keep doing this, you'll never learn to swim. Rather, in my opinion, you treat the person learning to swim almost exactly like you train a rat to run a maze or press a lever. You take very, very tiny increments. You get, first of all, you get the person near to the water and you give a pellet of food or the equivalent. You get them to touch the water, you get them into the water. You don't need punitive measures, and you certainly don't need a lot of theory about Archimedes' principle and statements of the kind, if you carry on doing this, you'll never get it right. I had to be rescued twice from water. Once in Bletchley, in Milton Keynes, when I fell over and had to be rescued. Another time, believe it or not, from the Dead Sea. You'd imagine that you couldn't drown in the Dead Sea. You can't, but you can sink in the Dead Sea, and you can overturn. Now, finally, my very final word is to say it's a great privilege to give what I hope are a few words of wisdom. And congratulations, everybody. Take the Open University with you wherever you go. And you need never be away from the OU. Our OU Psychology Society welcomes everyone, whether a psychologist or not. So good luck with your futures. Bye.